My name is Inhi Cho Suh, and I work at IBM. I'm the general manager of IBM's Collaboration Solutions. AI, cognitive, cloud, sort of this intersection is a really hot topic right now. And I think about it just fundamentally as how do we augment the human capabilities and apply advanced analytics and the latest capabilities around machine learning to really extend what people can do in terms of applying new capabilities to solve pretty bold problems for society. Watson is our primary focus of how we want to apply cognitive capabilities to augment the human capabilities, and we've got Watson operating today in 45 different countries across 20 different industries. And one of the core things that we think about is specialization. Is just like humans, we tend to specialize, whether it's in law or in medicine or in insurance. We're training Watson to really augment the specialists in their various disciplines to kind of accelerate outcomes. The journey of cognitive, we're just at the early stages across the entire industry, and I would say Watson is probably the most advanced in the industry because of the sheer amount of training data that we've actually applied to Watson. When you think about applying Watson to oncology and cancer and improving the quality of health and life, we've looked at numerous oncology records in terms of images and applying image analytics. We've looked at patient data and surgical data, and training that knowledge base to quickly discover intersections and patterns and then apply it in a way that kind of learns and interacts much like we do as humans is one of the core elements. Cognitive computing is changing not only the consumer life, but also the enterprise life. And let me give you a couple examples. We're actually co-innovated with the Culinary Institute to apply Watson to kind of invent and create new recipes. We've worked with Alex da Kid around developing a brand new music single, actually co-creating a song around heartbreak and being able to cultivate and curate kind of the broader social and public emotions around how people feel during that in order to get that creative side out. We've already begun to invest heavily in Watson Health, which is applying cognitive to improving the quality of not only care but diagnosis and discovery. I think what's exciting is you can apply cognitive and AI and machine learning to every industry. And quite frankly, you just have to pick a use case to start with. We see it in financial services sector around credit and risk. We see it in the retail sector for pricing and customer engagement. The work that my team is doing is actually infusing Watson to understand everyday conversations and everyday applications like messaging, chat, video conferencing. So understanding, how to extract the most meaningful moments and do that in a more automated way that ties into business applications is where we're focused. One of the biggest surprises in this space of AI, cloud, cognitive direction is the sheer creativity and breadth and energy that everyone is bringing to it. And it's really about augmenting the human capability. So we often think about, applying analytics to things like incremental improvements in a process, in a supply chain, in a pricing model. But here with cognitive, you can transform entire industries. And that digital disruption plus this new form of intelligence will change every profession as well as every industry. And what's exciting about that is that you get to focus the human attention on the things that actually really matter, not on the things that you think, oh, you know what, it might actually be better for a machine to handle. We're seeing a number of roles emerge during this kind of early stages of cognitive. I would say often it starts with a couple key roles. One is obviously partnering with the CIO or CTO within an organization. But often the real champion is the expert within that company, meaning, hey, are you the chief medical officer for that institution? Are you the head risk and credit leader for a financial institution that's looking at a number of financial elements for regulatory compliance? Are you the chef at a particular culinary institute? Are you the insurer and the payer, a provider? So we're seeing kind of the expert in terms of either the CMO, it may be the line of business, maybe head of product, and then he or she's partnering very closely with their head of technology. One of the first things I tell every CIO is, as they begin their digital journey, and by the way, every company is on a digital journey. They're either on that process or towards the end of that process, but is that what's going to ultimately differentiate you is your data. So if you don't have clarity around how you're curating the engagement data, and your most differentiated data is actually around your people, your process, and the content that they produce. So that's where I would say first and foremost every CIO should be focused on is, do you actually understand the workplace applications, and are they in such a way that are allowing engagement and analytics on top of that so that you can actually extract the most meaningful insights? Because if you can, then your employees and your experts across your company, as well as your partners and suppliers, can take advantage of the broader enterprise knowledge, right? If you don't have a way to tap into that, long term, you really don't have the same differentiation, because everyone is going to be doing a digital transformation of some sort, whether it's transforming their HR processes or their mobile payments process or their customer call center. So the real differentiation really is the expertise that's contained in their interactions. And so we're really excited because of the opportunity with what we're building with Watson Workspace and Connections and Box Relay is about being thoughtful about where that data is curated and how you're going to apply analytics to it. We're seeing a number of industries start with machine learning and also kind of more advanced cognitive capabilities. But I would say probably the two biggest areas are in financial services and healthcare. We've also started down the education path because you can start to apply cognitive to the way people learn. And that could be through not just K through 12, but in the professional realm as well. And the other piece that I'm seeing is because of the way we've enabled Watson Developer Platform and the APIs, we're really enabling every developer and every citizen developer, as well as folks, to begin to start their journey by actually learning. So we provide courses and education, and quite frankly, we're only constrained by the creativity of everyone involved. In my conversations with most of the C-suite, and it doesn't matter what industry they're in, they're feeling the pressure of speed of competition, the speed of innovation, the speed of their own internal agility to develop the services and new products. And as a result of that, they really need a number of things. They need the capabilities of cognitive to provide kind of that next level of creative innovation and augmentation to the work that they already provide for their clients. But they also want capabilities that are reflective of where the industry is headed in terms of microservices, agile services that you can easily compose, great innovation and creativity. You see new practitioners around the intersection of design and product. So the time is really exciting, but I think the biggest pressure that the C-suite team is feeling is both competitive differentiation and speed. The history of an evolution of database technology and enterprise content management has been going on for decades. What's exciting now in the area of big data analytics and where we're headed with cognitive is actually the ability to marry unstructured data with structured data. And what that means is that now you can marry something like transactional data, what goes into your ledger and your financial books, with the way in which people behave in your storefronts, the more personal and behavioral analytics that comes from that. Data is an important element of cognitive computing because there's already a tremendous amount of enterprise data that exists, and we've often talked about it as dark data. And how do you start to tap into that? Now, the public data is actually easier because it was written in a way to be found and searchable, right? It's often in HTML format, you can retrieve it from the web, it's been tagged, but enterprise content is really challenging. And what's exciting now is the combination of the technology capabilities we have, the capabilities IBM has to bring to bear, and the partnership with Box, our ability to now apply intelligence to that collaborative content that's developed by people and process, and it ranges from not only documents but creative images and video. It's like a whole new opportunity for enterprises, and this is where it's probably the most exciting for every enterprise, because to me the data is what differentiates them. First of all, we welcome any enterprise that wants to go on this journey, and we want to partner with you on a number of things. One is, do you understand where your most differentiated data exists? And my view of that is it's in your people, meaning the expertise that they have. It's in the engagement platforms. It's also in the content that they generate. So we focus on elements of how are you collaborating amongst your employees within your organization, as well as with your partners outside the organization. It's not only intra but inter-company interactions. And then the second thing we think through is, okay, depending on the nature of the data sets and how you're curating it, what's the platform best to enable that, and then how do you put analytics on top? And the analytics can range from simple things like text analytics to natural language to speech and to image to voice and video, and so the spectrum is quite large. If anything, my first encouragement is just pick one use case, and we're happy to get you started on that journey. Privacy, security in an AI world is incredibly important. A couple of core principles in our design for Watson is, first is, because we are designing Watson intentionally to augment the human capability, the idea is to extend all the things that we're great as humans and people are able to do in terms of creativity. The second piece that we're really conscious of is the data, who owns it, the transparency around it, and the training methodology. You know, for enterprises, when you're competing heavily in your particular industry, you want to know that that training data is your data, and you don't want that training data to be shared with your competitors, right, or to be used to your disadvantage unintentionally. And one of the things that we're very thoughtful about in this area is the way that the data is treated, your control over that data set, and then the way in which the methodology is trained with Watson to augment your design points for whether it's customer call center, which happens to be one of the top use cases, or it could be around client engagement or patient care. But we're very thoughtful about the data treatment. Data governance is always a challenge for any enterprise, quite frankly, but one of the core things that is really important for us as we think about specialization is that it's done in partnership with the experts within the company. So often we identify who is the resident expert around the data set, who ensures that it is of the quality it needs to be, who ensures that the individuals who are other experts a part of that ecosystem that review the content are also authorized to do it. Because often with machine learning and with cognitive, you have to train the system over time. And so even having the right governance structure around the training sets and training methodology is incredibly important. And we think through that. We also think through the legal ramifications for your particular industry if it's highly regulated, and also the security measures as to who has access, who can train, who shouldn't be able to, and accessibility in terms of the application services, in terms of the end user who's actually going to interact with that the application you're developing. One of our top partners and clients is H&R Block. Many people know H&R Block as a tax accounting company, and one of the core things that they wanted to do was augment the retail experience. And if you think about tax planning, for any family or individual, it's one of those moments you have to do every year. It can be stressful, but for the tax accountant, he or she's got to be up to date on all the latest laws, changes, but when you start to interact at a very personal level, the decisions that you make, even though you could fit the same profile, could be fundamentally different. Oh, you care about, investments into your children's college fund. You care about the health care for your parents that are elderly. You care about, buying real estate or investing properly in stock. So there's a number of factors where you're thinking about returns on green and efficiency investments in certain types of buildings. Knowing all of those intricacies, not only in the law, but also in the engagement, was really important for us to say, how do we put Watson in the mix of that interaction between the accountant and the individual taxpayer so that the combination of the three can actually get the right outcome. And the right outcome is the best planning, but also the right return for the individual. When I think about this world of AI, cognitive and cloud and more advanced capabilities and new professions and new industries, it means that we're also going to need to rethink the skills and the evolution of the working populations across the world. And we believe that there's an emerging workforce. It's no longer just a blue collar or a white collar. We actually believe that it's going to be a new collar. Not everyone will need to have the traditional college training or graduate school training, because the types of skills that you may need in this world are going to be far different. If you think about the generation of the developers and the programming models, I mean, from where it started to where we are now and where it's going to be headed in terms of machine learning capabilities, we need a whole spectrum of new skills. I see cognitive computing being everywhere in the workplace of the future. There isn't a part of the way we work that won't be instantiated in some form of code. And when you think about that, what that means is that we get to unleash a whole different creative side of the human capacity to solve big, bold problems for the industry, the human capacity to interact at a deeper level, to make sure we're extracting, meaningful moments or insights so that every conversation matters and counts. Or it could be new ways in which people are focused on the outcome. So the whole trend around agility and agile applications and microservices is that, we're going to be living in a time frame, even now, where the pressure of speed and innovation and competition is so great that having that augmented capability to quickly assemble services you need in the cloud, take advantage of neural networks that are built architecturally for AI and cognitive, and then apply them in very creative ways for the end user experience so that you can save time, stay in the context of what you're doing without switching apps all the time. I mean, these are some of the things that I kind of foresee, aside from obviously solving some pretty audacious goals around healthcare and education and bigger society problems.